Hello, welcome again. I'm Julie Litaire, founder of Ariadne Innovation, and I'm back in the podcast studio today for another Ellie Talks recording. It's a beautiful day outside, sun is shining, and we are recording our 20th episode today, special day. So, to recap with the Ellie Talks podcast, we aim to inspire, inform, and connect the fashion and textile ecosystem with regards to sustainability, collaboration, and digitalization. So we want to inspire you by spotlighting some stories and inspire you on your journey to become a more sustainable player in the ecosystem. Over the past 19 episodes, we have talked about innovation, recycling processes, legislation, role of social economy, and a whole lot more. Very interesting insights. But today, we approach impact from a completely different perspective. So in episode 17, Carla Baslier, the new CEO of Fidustria, was very clear that young people are the future. But in our industry, that is not so obvious to attract these young people to come and work in our textile and fashion organizations. Besides, we all know the challenge of finding the right employees for the right spot. And yet, our podcast guest of today made a very bold statement. That empty labor market is not empty. You just need to approach it differently. Very nicely said. Very happy to welcome you here today, Tim Vannieuwenhuyse, Managing Director at Waak. Welcome, Tim. You are a believer of the first hour, so I'm very honored that you want to join us today.
Thank you. I'm very honored to sit at your table, and I'd like to tell our story.
Yes, great. Okay, looking forward. So we talk about the importance of employer branding today. Honestly, a topic very close to my heart as well, being an ambassador for the textiles for very long. But before we talk about the employer part, can you tell us a little bit more about who is Tim and what drives you?
Okay, well, my name is Tim Vannieuwenhuyse, Managing Director of Waak. I studied in earlier times commercial engineer at KU Leuven.
Great choice.
Yes. But now I call myself social entrepreneur because I'm a believer of economics, but I'm also a believer of combinations, of combined objectives. I want to do things which are really economic and really social or societal. And in Waak, I can combine those two things, and I think it's a nice thing to do, and I like it.
Okay, that's nice. We read on your LinkedIn profile that you have been working at Waak. I want to say the Waak, but I have to say Waak today for over 16 years. Is it correct?
Yes, I started in Waak at 2006 as financial manager, and I became the CEO of the group at 11.
Okay, yeah. Okay, and can you maybe, for the people who don't know Waak, tell us a little bit more about the company, which is a social enterprise? You already mentioned social entrepreneurship. Can you tell us a little bit more about your activities and what you do there?
Yeah, so what does Waak? Waak is a sheltered workshop, they said in earlier times. Now it's a maatwerkbedrijf. It means that we work with people with a distance to the normal labor market. So our mission is to have as much jobs as possible for people who don't find a job in a normal labor market. What do? Is we make products, semi-products for the industry. We have 4 main sectors. We work for electrical wirings, which we make for the HVAC market. Then we have a metal plant. We do assembly of metal and of plastics. We do packing, co-packing, repacking. And the 4th activity is services. So we do painting, green maintenance, cleaning, and so on.
Yeah. Okay. Very diversified tasks. Yes.
Yes, and I'm quite proud that we are in our sector. We are the biggest player. So we are the biggest in Flanders. We work with 2,000 people. And we have a turnover of about 55 million euros.
Well, That's a big enterprise and a big challenge, I can imagine as well. And reverting to the topic of today, we will talk about employer branding. Of course, with 2,000 people working at Waak, that's important, I guess. Can you explain what is employer branding for you? What does it mean?
Well, employer branding is branding you as an employer. That's clear. And why do we have to do it? For our employees in the first place, not for the applicants, not for the environment, but for your own people, because we are trained to solve problems. We are trained to see what's going wrong in our organization, and we work on it. It's our job. We are paid for that. But so we often forget all the beautiful things what we do in our company. We do such great things, but we are focused on the problems, and we have to put some stress on the good things, because they give you new energy, and with the new energy you can solve so much problems in the future. So you have to look for the positiveness in the organization, to be an ambassador of your organization in the organization.
Okay, that's a nice definition, because normally when I think about employer branding, you always hear it in the context of finding new people, but not always in the context of making the current culture explicit. Indeed.
Yes, it's a very important topic, that, because in HR we have 3 or 4 recruiters. In sales we have 7 or 8 key account managers, and that's all. But we have 2,000 possible ambassadors of Waak, to find customers, to find suppliers, to find new people, applicants. So you have to use the whole group, and when they are telling positive things in their family, in the bars or whatever where, then you have the good news, the right content, so that the right person who fits in your company comes to your company and as an applicant.
Okay, and so we talk about culture, which is really important. I like the internal view on employer branding there. I think, as you explained, about 2 years ago, you made really a clear choice to fully go for this culture, this employer branding. Can you maybe tell us how this shift, if I can call it a shift, happened? What drove this change in strategy?
Well, we were growing, as you see with many companies, and then it's difficult to have a real identity. So we tried at the start of our employer branding project, we started with 3 sources. One source is the reinventing of our mission and vision statement, because it's important to have a great vision. A vision is, I call it, I have a dream. A mission is just one sentence. The values are very important, but the vision is what connects people. So that's one. Then you have the strategic approach. What is my strategy for the coming years is the second source. And the third source are all the small talks. The faits divers. Do they say, what impresses you? What do you like? What is attractive? What is nice to know? So we have asked our people all those small talks. And this is what we called in that first episode our woes, the woe Waak. And important also in such a project, it has to be serious, but not too serious. So we try to look for the woe Waaks, and it's a hashtag woe Waak. We use it very often. And to visualize it, we asked our people, say whoa. And if when you say whoa, you have a very beautiful look. And so that's our building. We want to be proud of what we do, proud of our small talks, of our big strategy, of our vision, our connection, but everything has to do something with wow. And if we are repeating ourselves, that's wow, that's wow, that's wow, so we are believers of our own story. That's what we try to do.
That's great. So for all the listeners today, please try this. Whoa!
Yes.
And definitely look at the video that will be posted as well, instead of just listening to the podcast. I like that story because they always say happy employees bring you happy customers. So from that point of view, I think this internal wow effect is very important as well. We talked about 2 years ago starting this project. 2 years ago, that was the period of COVID. Did that not stop you to continue with this project, or on the contrary?
Well,
how did it impact it?
We have discussed it because we were introducing it just 1, 2, 3 months before COVID, and then we thought, what we're gonna do? Do we put it on pause or do we go on? And then we decided we go on because we had there was no Waak during 5 weeks, and then we started up step by step, and it was a very strange period for all the companies, but also for us. And then the little bit nice news or a little bit of positivism, careful positivism, was very important to just have the energy to go on. So when we look back, it was a perfect period, but it was not planned to do there. But we were very happy that we continued what was planned.
Okay, so you have a clear strategy and approach when it comes to your internal, as you explained, both as your external communication. Can you maybe clarify a little bit more as well about that external communication part and how you approach the internal communication as well? What is it exactly that you did or that you do?
Well, I think it's a 3-step thing. You first have to be sure what is my content. Then you have to be convinced that every person in your organization is convinced. And then the 3rd step is that you can work on corporate branding. If you start with corporate branding, but it doesn't fit with what the people say, then it will be a negative news. So the sequence is very important. Real content, not just in the air. Real content, employers, convince your employees, and then the corporate branding thing. And what we try to do with our social media, with our external communication, is first external, then internal, first internal, then external, and we mix with it. We play with it, and we have funny news, we have serious news, and so we try to combine LinkedIn, Facebook, internal intranet, and so on, or also leaflets. We use our vehicles with our promo material, so that there is a story, and it seems like all small stories, but there is a red line, there is a fil rouge, so that it's one big story of wow.
Okay. Whoa, let's try it again.
Yes, wow.
Okay, so during our intake call, you mentioned something about a project with donuts. You did as another example. In I think episode 9, we talked with Jolien Rudolph from Herwin about the donut economy. So this donut story interests us. But can you maybe explain what you did? Because I think it's with real donuts, no?
Yes, we gave our employees thousands of donuts, because it was a bit of our visualization of what we did. But a donut, that's a O. So the O of whoa. And with Photoshop, we made a lot of things whoa, where the O is the mouth of the person who is really saying whoa with the donut. And it's nice, because we believe also in the donut economy.
Yeah.
Social economy is looking for really economic growth, believes in economy, believes in commercial strategy and so on, but with some limits. Because of the social aspects, because of the environmental aspects. So the donut economy and our donut campaign although the two things have nothing to do with each other, but it helps to have our story, because in our DNA, sustainable growth is a very important aspect, also to attract new employees.
So you mean sustainable not only in the sense of long term, but just making a sustainable impact on the world as well. And I think this is something very, very concrete as well. Even in ESG as a production company, I think attracting young people, that younger people feel that they want to work in a company with purpose, with a I think a sustainability strategy as well, whether or not it's explicit or implicit. Do you feel the same? Do you have the same impression, or?
Well, yes. What we see is we have a lot of new jobs. Last year we employed 250 new people.
Wow.
200 people with a distance to the normal labor market, and 50 people in all kind of jobs, IT, sales, planning, and so on. And we found them. Did we have a lot of applicants? Not that much, but we had the right applicants. So if they tell about you on the street or in social media, or I don't know, so that they know what they get, you only need one applicant if there is a real fit.
Yeah.
And we have seen that we have attracted the right people. It took sometimes some more time, but we had quality. We had good applicants, and everybody says there's nobody on the labor market, but we found them. And I see colleagues who find them too, and others who find nobody.
Yeah.
So I think it's because our communication is clear and is correct. You don't have to sell air, but you have to say what you do, and you have to do what you say.
Yeah.
And I'm a believer of that. And that's in marketing, that's in your value creation, that's in your management strategy. Do what you say what you do, and say a lot, because that communication goes all over spread the word all over the streets, and then the right applicant will come.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that's very important. I think it's what we kind of tried out of ESG with the Hack Your Genes project as well. And I do agree that it's not like that there's no candidates anymore, but it's quality above quantity as for many things. So let's stress that again, that it's not about the number of candidates that you get for one job opening, but really finding even one applicant with the right cultural fit. I think hearing about your internal and external actions, there's a lot of effort, marketing-wise and HR-wise, from that. Just interested in creating content. Do you have an in-house team working on this?
Well, since 2 years, since the beginning of the campaign, we have one person whose job is looking for content, create content every day. So every day a story. And he made a matrix of small news, big news, strategic news, commercial news, human news, so that there is a fluent mix. And he's running through the company looking for news, and he makes content, he makes video, he makes some interviews, he makes text, and every day we are in one of the social medias. So it costs. It is a cost, but it's an investment, because we believe that way they talk about us. In the past, I did it myself, and I thought I was good, but I was not good. I see the difference now. It's communication, it's a specialty. You don't do it just at noon. You have to do it as a real challenge and as a real job.
Yeah. Okay, good. So it's an investment, I think, worth looking into. For SME entrepreneurs, maybe it's always a good job to just start with it You don't necessarily have to have someone internally, but if you want to do it professionally, then scale it up. Then I think indeed it's a good idea. I think in the current economic situation, the switch between linear and circular economy, sustainability, product offerings, certifications, legislation coming. There's a lot to do. So definitely branding your company as an employer is something that comes on top of it. Is it worth doing it? After this period of 2 years, do you really feel that it has paid off? I would assume yes, but
I would assume yes, but I don't know. It's difficult to measure, but I'm convinced when I see the 50 difficult job openings were filled in with good people. Would we have found them without our campaigns? I don't know, but I'm convinced that there is a link between what we do and what we have as a result. Also internally, is everything funny in Waak? No, not at all. We have problems as we had yesterday and the day before. Do we do it on another way? Maybe. I hope. I see it, but it doesn't mean that everything is peaceful at the moment. But it helps to have an atmosphere that you also look to the small and big positive things. And positivism is such an energy giver in an organization, and everything is about energy.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I'm also a little bit of an optimist, even if times are not so easy. I think it's a moral duty, as I have heard somewhere, to be positive or optimist, whatever you call it. I want to stress again about the aspect of the change in culture, both from the external side as the internal side, because now we're talking a lot about recruitment of the right people. But I think one of the most important factors for companies as well is the retention. It's not only about attracting people to the company, but also keeping them. And then I think company culture plays a very important role in commitment and engagement of the teams. So do you observe as well there a cultural shift? Well, you already...
Yes. Well, retention is, of course, that's first thing. And it's for employees. It's also for customers.
Correct.
Keep your customers inside. Keep your employees inside. And in difficult times, everything helps. Everything that helps. There is not one step to the solution. You have to do different things to do so. But the looking for people, the coaching of people is so important. There are a lot of companies who forget to do some HR. They're selling, they're perfect in their products and in the production, but they forget to do some HR. Yeah. It's bizarre in these times. The HR is at a certain moment the most important division in what you do, because your human asset is so important, and it's the bottleneck for many companies.
Yeah, and definitely in times of crisis or recession, as we're here today, I think having good people and motivating them is even more important than indeed having machines running. So you also mentioned before that your HR process changed. That you really moved from a purchasing to a more selling approach. Can you tell us something more about that?
Well, the words say themselves. The applicant had to convince the HR, the recruiter, but now the recruiter has to sell, has to convince the applicant, come here because of that and that aspect. And in earlier times, HR as a recruiter, they were hard to get. Now it's the applicant who is hard to get. Yeah. And I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good evolution because everybody has to sell. The sellers has to sell. The recruiters has to sell. Even the the purchasers has to sell, because you have to be in the middle of what you want to do. You don't have to be part of something else. You have to be boss of what you do, to new applicants, to new customers, to new suppliers, because you have to choose what fits in your model. Sometimes it's the price, sometimes it's the quality, sometimes it's the delivery or the delivery performance, but you are in charge to make your choices. In the past, it was everybody has hit his aspects, but I think in the business of the future, all the aspects that you can combine and that you can sell with your conviction is a step forward.
Okay, that's nice. Important message, I think, as well. Make sure that all the strategy internally is aligned as well. We talked about your communication internally, externally, but when we zoom into you, Tim, you're also very socially engaged. You called yourself social entrepreneur as well, but that's not only linked to Waak, I think. You're on the jury of the JCI, West-Vlaamse Jonge Ondernemer. You mentor startups. You are ambassador and founder or fund startups as well. Are active in very different networks. Do you consider it the role of a managing director today and managing director of the future to represent the company as well, more in a broader societal aspect?
Yes, but also because it's funny. So I'm proud of what Waak does. So I'm very proud to see what we do. So I'm a supporter of Waak. I'm an ambassador of Waak. I'm a friend of Waak. And so when I can tell that story wherever I go, it's the best way to have the right positioning of what we are. So not the best positioning, but the right positioning. And I like it. I like having of being in networks, of having other challenges, because on the long run, it only helps to create the perfect picture of what we do. I do not sell products. I do not sell jobs. I sell the brand Waak, and all the aspects, I hope, come together. That's my investment, but that's also my conviction.
Yeah. And I can totally relate to that. I think that's very important to do as well. Same for me, for instance. I love to... I call myself a social entrepreneur a little bit as well. And I do think it's important to be a storyteller. Not everyone likes to do that, but I think as a managing director and now founder of Ariadne Innovation, I think it's very important to tell stories about sustainable fashion and textile so people can relate to that and that you create authenticity, which I think is very important as an entrepreneur and just as a human being as well, to being authentic. So I think we have found each other there as well. We really loved your quote. I already started with it. The empty labor market is not empty. But we're saying that at the moment where a lot of people are struggling to find the right people, even if it's only one person. Can you maybe give us and give the listeners some tips on how to start maybe small steps that they can already take?
Well, you mentioned authenticity. I think it's very important. I repeated several times, don't sell air. Don't make your company more beautiful or more other than you are. So say the real thing, but repeat the real thing. And repeat all the things. Social, commercial, economic, financial, human, so that they get a picture of the community. Not just of the business, of the community. I'm convinced that when you repeat it and you repeat it and you repeat it, that there is so much information in the community, so that you will find the right people. And there's no magic. It's just working. It's just talking. It's just telling, day by day. I don't have the real trick or the real strategy. What we try to do is what we like, what we are convinced at, and we do it, and we do it again and again and again.
Okay, good. Just start and try to define yourself. I think it's important. The first step of being authentic is knowing where that authenticity is, of course. So take a step backwards from time to time, and that's maybe a tip to fellow CEOs and founders as well, to get to know yourself as well, so you can.
Well, I mentioned in the beginning the importance of the vision of an organization. A lot of companies have a lot of strategies, but they underemphasize their vision. But the vision is really what connects people, and I call it. I already said it. I have a dream, or we have a dream. So that's in words, but those words make the connection between people, and with that connection, you can do great things.
Yeah.
But you have to do it. You have to repeat it. You have to make it clear in small things and in big things.
Okay, so you already introduced my next question about dreams, so I'm gonna relaunch the question to you again. Do you have a dream, plans for the future? Maybe to do even more on employer branding or on HR. What's your next dream?
Well, I think we're step by step building our next dream. I believe very hard in our role as a social entrepreneur in ecological economy. So we have social entrepreneur, the P of people. You have ecological, the P of planet. Economy, the P of profit or prosperity. I believe that there are a lot of opportunities, more than yesterday, where the three P's come together in a perfect way. I'm not a believer of planet. I'm not a believer of profit. But when you can create big things with people, with distance to the normal labor market, on projects who help the planet for the long term, and you can do it in a profitable way, then you create, even although I said there was no magic, but maybe then you create magic. For this moment, it's a KPI for us. What do we do in ecological economy?
I thought the magic.
No, at this moment, it's about 22-23% of our added value is in ecological economy. So we make products for heat pumps, for electrical vehicles, for electrical bikes, for digital electric meters, and so on. So we make a lot of products in that market segment. And I believe that it's just the first step. So maybe when I can dream for the next years, maybe it can become 50% of what we do. Maybe 70%. I don't know. I dream.
Okay. Well, we will try to support that dream as well. And in any case, I totally agree with the quote. What I always say is that actually every entrepreneur should be a social entrepreneur. That's where everyone has to go, where I'm very much convinced, but you also showed us very much why you are the perfect believer for our project as well. So that's very nice to hear. We are approaching the end of the podcast already. As you know, it is shared with the entire Ellie.Connect ecosystem, even beyond, for those who are not registered yet. And with Ellie, we want to enable partnerships, new connections. So, Tim, I want to give you the floor. If you have any last request, challenge, or final message that you would like to share with our listeners and later on our ecosystem as well.
Well, you mentioned ecosystem, connection, enabling. what we see is the struggles or the ambitions or the challenges of the future are not just business-wise. You have to be in networks. You have to combine inspiration, opportunities, information in open networks, and everything has to be done to facilitate those things, because with that thing we can make a 1 + 1 is 3. So networking, but not just networking, but the real networking. So networking. I believe that we have to do it over sectors, not just within a sector, not within a company, but over sectors and over companies. And it's I like the word funny. It's also funny because you're in contact with totally other business people who have the same goals or the same vision, maybe the same dreams. And when you do it by networking, you can create big dreams.
Yes, great. That's a perfect conclusion, I think, for our Ellie.Connect ecosystem, and maybe a dream to share to other industries as well in the future. That brings us to the end of this episode. Tim, thank you very much again for being one of our first believers and for being here with us today, sharing your story, your social entrepreneurship story. For those listening, the podcast blog post will also be posted on www.ellie.connect.com/episode 20 already. It's available for free download, but definitely I would call upon to the listeners to register as well and keep on following what is happening on our Ellie.Connect ecosystem and reach out to other partners as well. So for more inspiration, information and connection, please join Ellie.Connect on www.ellie.connect.com. If you liked this episode, please like, share your comments, what we can do better in the future. And please keep on listening and let's do great things together. And let's end this episode with a new wow.
Wow.